lock on.
Yeah, absolutely no malice there. Real class from Eduardo there to acknowledge and say, hey, no intent. But the kicks are working. You definitely want to boot that lead leg.
So, KG, I use the expression wham bam, thank you, man, but no, these boys are keeping it well tidy, keeping it in the pocket. The low kick seems to be Eduardo's preferred shot here, but they're trading low, and Stamatovic has had to back off of a few that's caught him on the inside thigh. But these are big boys and they're really throwing leather.
In Stamatovic, it's the first time he's fought a fighter with a winning record. Now, of course, you know, you're young in the game, you're struggling to get matchups. I think he had a few canceled fights. But Eduardo has won and lost against some good competition, even some competition that isn't as well known, that were really, really solid fighters. So all that math counts.
So it's interesting because they're quite lively on their toes for heavyweights, big guys. They're not flat-footed. Boxing well here. And this is quality work in the upright, it really is. Stamatovic has got the reach, throws the right first, tries to find a way in. But look at Eduardo, even though he's got the height, he's still covering up. And I think that was lacking from the previous bout with Budimir and Aleksic. They need to be able to cover up, get that guard working, and keep the head moving so they can slip punches, as opposed to just stand there and take them through the front door. That said, Eduardo keeping distance and range. Stamatovic has the slight height advantage, I believe, in this. And as I said earlier, Eduardo is not big for a heavyweight. Oh, Stamatovic now starts to load up. Now we're starting to get some spice into the work. Stamatovic feels the time is right now to start peppering up. Eduardo testing him. Let's see if he can bring some liveliness to the proceedings. Definitely controlling the centre of the ring. Stamatovic hunting his man down. Eduardo moving around the outside, moving to the left, realising that Stamatovic has to reset in order to get that left hand off. Oh, and he beautifully slips under for a shoot. Doesn't come off, but it shows the intent.
It's nice to see him try to pick up a single. He's got a really nice single leg, and again, you know, you want to be able to be a little bit more of a multi-dimensional threat against Stamatovic. Keep him guessing. So for Eduardo on the feet, I want to see him touch, right? I want to see him find his mark either with a kick or potentially a punch, pull back, and then return hard, because he knows that Stamatovic always wants to go back after him after he gets kicked or maybe tagged with a short punch.
So an engagement now, the single leg. And we can see Eduardo setting his stall out now. He's happy to go to the ground. For a man that was happy to keep it all upright for recent fights, tonight he knows that maybe the route to victory is in the horizontal.
And again, he used the same strategy. So he tagged Stamatovic, backed off, and then went in, but didn't actually throw more strikes. He actually picked up the single.
Look at that, big punches from Stamatovic. He misses, flying knee strike, but Eduardo is looking for that single leg. Eduardo looking to take this to the ground. And Stamatovic just needs to have a care here, because when he throws, that's when Eduardo goes.
And again, you know, you look at the age differences, but Eduardo's been in good shape. He's had some good camps. He's clearly taken some strength and conditioning seriously. Even being .500 in his last two, he's shown up in shape.
A little bit of wear and tear over the left eye that's causing a problem for Eduardo. A little nick. And, I think Stamatovic realises he's managed to cause some damage, so he's headhunting. Just on the 10-second clapper. Great footwork from Eduardo. I mean, you know, he's on his toes, moving laterally.
Really nice, crafty read on the fight still.
So, welcome to the House of Fun. Round 2 of a Scheduled 3. Big boys are out, heavyweight, under 120 keys. Stamatovic, the numbers for him, put him just under 2 meters. Carlos Eduardo, all that experience, and doing great, really, to make weight and to get into shape at 42 years of age. And he's been nothing if not mobile throughout this whole bout so far.
He's got to. He absolutely needs to. When you see this much of a weight difference at heavyweight, because there is quite a bit of potential weight difference, you need to leverage that to your advantage, and he's been doing that here in this fight.
Stamatovic now trying to up the ante, trying to nail his man down, and that's been the problem for Stamatovic so far. He's not been able to get Eduardo squarely in the crosshairs, but just look at the power, just look at the strength. It's Stamatovic that the first gamut is for the takedown, and he just picks his man up. Incredible power, and just body slams him to the ground there. And Eduardo with that trouble over the left eye, looking just a little bit worse for wear. This is where the skill set's going to come in.
And it was nice takedown defense from Eduardo. He split his base really nicely, used the fence, dug his toes in, tried to work off it, but just the sheer power of Stamatovic, it was almost like he sensed the frustration from the bleachers as if to hear action, action, and he went into beast mode.
Yeah, and he's really going strong here, and I have to say he's trying to get a crank on a headlock there, but doesn't manage it. Eduardo slipping out, causing all problems, and Eduardo getting his own game going now. A little bit of a tangle going on here, and in the scramble, they're just losing a little bit of direction. It goes back to that close guard. Eduardo locks his man in. Stamatovic has to throw the overhand shots, but he's got the height and the range to cause damage, even that far down in a tight close guard.
That was really nuts. Stamatovic showed a really lovely bit of dexterity there and flexibility to maintain that position. Eduardo was nearly out the back door once or twice. I thought that Stamatovic was actually going to spin for a knee bar, go for kind of a backspin.
So pace settled down as they try and work out all of the angles and the math involved. Still a decent chunk of this round to go. So at the moment, I think Eduardo has just got too many questions to answer in terms of height, weight, power, age. Stamatovic not dominating wholeheartedly here, but certainly using that height and power.
Eduardo's exhausted, right? Now, again, Stamatovic, one of my questions was, what does the energy look like? He used a lot of it, clearly needed some time to recover here. Eduardo has been frustrated, but relatively unharmed from this. And just the technical use of a lot of these positions to limit damage. Here he is. Not exactly the type of guy you want to play deep half on, but if anyone can do it, it's just that experience difference, right? I mean, you have to think it's 10x.
So, Eduardo working off his back, and that's where the experience comes, isn't it? He's locked Stamatovic into this neutralizing position. Stamatovic hasn't managed to get anything off meaningfully. Look at him trying to get those right hand shots, and every time Eduardo almost instinctively manages to spoil it, and it's a reset, a reposition.
Look how exhausted Stamatovic is. Eduardo's tired, but it's very, very rare you see a ref stand fighters up in that kind of dominant position. It wasn't exactly dominant, but it was a position he could have dominated from.
Yeah, Stamatovic, I think, missed the opportunity there. And Eduardo, look at just how slippery he is, left to right, right to left. And Stamatovic just hasn't been able to utilize that power and the size because, you know, your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see. And Eduardo is baiting his man now, saying, come on, let's see here tonight. Wonderful show of respect as Milenko Stamatovic and Carlos Eduardo give each other a hug before the third and final round here, which possibly could be one apiece. Too close, too tight. Ooh, nice uppercut there to call, really. Again, another tough one for the judges. They're going to earn their money tonight. But third and final round, Stamatovic needs to get the energy going. Eduardo, equally so, to keep evasive. But it's interesting because Eduardo now has become the aggressor, and he's the one controlling the centre of the ring, and he's the one that's pushing Stamatovic up against the wire. Now look at Eduardo go. Stamatovic, I think, is on fumes.
He's got to go for it here. He's got to go really hard. This is go home or go for broke.
Well, he's experienced enough to know when to use the energy and when not to. And just look at this. Eduardo now starting to put the heat on Stamatovic. Stamatovic going for a single leg to just try and keep the heat away. But Eduardo having none of it. And Eduardo, a whole new look about him now, putting the combinations together and getting them on target. Stamatovic comes back hard, throws in the shots. Eduardo starts to feel a little bit of taste of pigskin there with that power of Stamatovic behind. But standing square, boxing, putting some skilled shots in there, moves the game.
Nice body work here from Eduardo. He just needs to get Stamatovic to cover like he does. He has a very rudimentary guard. See, this is what you don't want. If both guys are equally tired, someone's still going to have some strength, and that has been Stamatovic. Again, the same kind of takedown where just bum rushes you. I mean, he's almost bent over in poor technical position, but because he's so strong-willed, he's able to just rip the legs up and complete.
Yeah, and Eduardo was a little bit sloppy in allowing that. So from that advantage in the stand-up where he was outboxing Stamatovic, nice move by Stamatovic, takes his man down there, both feet in that spread. But it's ironically Eduardo that ends up capitalizing. Eduardo on top.
He's got to pass this guard. Forget about a tight pressure pass. I'd almost just stand up and quickly try to clear those legs or force the back. Ooh, Stamatovic with a figure-4 counter. Eduardo hides it, lovely, rolls through. Very smart. Continuing to hold on to it is Stamatovic. I'm letting go at that point.
In the upright. And for me, this is where the advantage lies for Eduardo. He's got to keep range and pick his man off with the strikes, but the fatigue starting to show. And on his bike, Eduardo trying to keep out of the way. Stamatovic on a second wind here.
Both guys are just so exhausted right now. Well, I mean, you can just see Stamatovic breathes, waits, Eduardo runs away. You see what I mean? How bent over Stamatovic is out of position? It's just technically almost making life more difficult, less energy efficient to get this takedown.
So, under 2 minutes left. And again, this has not been electrifyingly crisp work from either fighter, but the heat in this stadium is just absolutely unbelievable. Oh, and he was caught there. Stamatovic slipped down the leg, and we can't understand why he remained in that position.
Eduardo literally clocked him, had a free target. He had a free lunge there. Sits down as Stamatovic grabs his leg.
Unbelievable. That was Full Metal Jacket, that hammer fist, wasn't it? So that's got to hurt. But Stamatovic now in for the long haul, just using his weight and his height to leverage and cause a bit of a problem for Carlos Eduardo. But they're both surviving, and it's swinging either way. And Stamatovic, almost on autopilot, marches forward. And that's what you need for Eduardo to turn on the punch, hurt his man on the way out, brings in the knee, keeps the distance. And these sloppy punches are actually starting now to have an effect, but he needs to have a care, and the corner are going absolutely wild. Stamatovic out of steam, holds his knees, can't suck up enough oxygen here. Can Eduardo finish? Can he get one shot that will cause a problem for Stamatovic?
Stamatovic is just on ice skates here. He is literally on empty. The reserve fuel is gone. Eduardo just pot shot him here on the outside. Why would you clinch? There is no reason for you to try to clinch with this behemoth right now when you can stand there and have free shots. I mean, it was shot selection perfection.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like being at the fun fair, wasn't it?
Contest 30 points to 27, all in favor of your winner. In the red corner, Milenko, Stamatovic.